With The Boys officially over, I think it'd be fun to do a little tier list of all the seasons, which one was the best, which one was the worst. Let's get into it. Starting off with Season 1, which to me is the pinnacle of the show. Very often that you see the first season of shows end up being the best, and this show is no exception. So what did I like about this season? First of all, we gotta talk about the color grading. This season was so like green or gray, it just had a very unique color tone, which made it stand out compared to the other seasons. And this isn't necessarily something you fully register, but it's definitely something psychologically you realize about this season of the show. There's also just something about this season where it felt like such an accomplishment to take down a soup, and I think the only one they actually did was Translucent. It's so unique how they took him down though. They had to really think about it and think through how they could do it and not just like punch him a bunch and hope he dies. And that's something I really think we lost throughout the show. As they got more and more people with powers, it felt like they lost their wit a little bit throughout the show. Huey being the main character of this season was a really nice touch that we don't see in the rest of the seasons. There's just something about his relationship with Annie in this season, and the antagonist being A-Train in this season, that really just made it really unique. Because you look at the rest of the season and it's kind of just Homelander is the villain. And that's not to say he isn't a villain in this one, but A-Train's definitely the main antagonist. The show definitely felt a lot less comedy focused in this season, which I really love. It felt a lot more gritty and more just being a parody of what superhero shows are. Like I said, for me, this is the best season of the show, so it's gotta go S tier. Now, Season 2 was definitely a step down from Season 1 in my eyes, but that doesn't mean it still wasn't really good. This is when we really see Homelander descend into his madness, and we see him and Butcher's rivalry really take off. I think Butcher trying to get to Becca and Ryan was a really good storyline. I thought it made for a really compelling season. And on the flip side, you had Homelander trying to get Ryan to be, like, his actual son. This season still had the gritty feel that Season 1 had, but it's just slightly worse in my eyes. I also think the tension we see within the 7 in this season as we see the Deep and A-Train get kicked out of the 7 was a really good plotline. I'm not necessarily the biggest Stormfront fan as a villain, but she was alright. However, I do believe the finale to this season was probably the best season finale we saw on the show. Season 2 is going to go in A tier because it's what Clara would have wanted. Season 3 is a lot of people's favorites. I think it's really great. Obviously, Soldier Boy is the main selling point of the season, and he's really great in this season, but there's a lot of other stuff that's awesome in it too. I think just the whole plot line of some hero from the past coming back and getting revenge on his old team was just really interesting. Something about Soldier Boy getting revenge on his old team, even though we shouldn't like him as a person, the kills were honestly pretty satisfying because we saw him get hurt by these people. I also really do like this is the first time we really see Homelander scared, as he is actually pretty terrified of Soldier Boy when he first sees him on that camera footage from when he kills Crimson Countess, I believe. A big standout for this season for me is Black Noir and how they kind of made this mysterious character and gave him a great backstory and ended up rooting for him. Like, it was genuinely a sad moment when he ended up dying. I think this season also probably has the best fight scenes in the show. Fight between Butcher and Soldier Boy and Homelander was probably the best scene in the entire show. I think Temp V was a very interesting inclusion in this. It added for a unique touch on the season, but I think it set some unfortunate precedents throughout the show. Like, early on, I loved that it felt like such a big accomplishment when they took down a soup, but once they got powers, it kind of felt like that was diminished. I also think the finale for this season was really bad, as it really should have ended with Homelander losing his powers or dying. I don't know why they decided. Well, I know why. I have a whole video talking about why. But the finale really brought this season down a little bit. I feel like it kind of showed we're not going to kill some of the more significant characters until the final season because they just want to keep the show going. If not for that, this would probably be my favorite season of the show, but because of that, I've got to put a touch below Season 1. Now Season 4, which definitely got a lot of bad reviews. I'm no exception. I was not a big fan of this season either. Like, I can hardly remember what even happened this season, which, if that's how your show is, it's kind of a bad sign for how the season was. All I can think of from the season is the episode where Huey is Spider-Man, and that's just an awful, awful episode. I think this season even gets weighed down a little more, knowing that the virus didn't even do much for the show as a whole. With that being said, I do think there were a lot of high notes this season. The episode of Huey and Huey's dad and the hospital thing I thought was really good. I know some people didn't love it. I thought it was really heartfelt and entertaining. I also like that the message of it was like when to know to say goodbye to someone. We also saw A-Train's redemption arc begin, which to me is probably the best character decision they ended up going with throughout the whole show. The finale of this season was honestly one of the better episodes of the show. I really enjoyed the finale and was hoping it would lead to a great Season 5. But just as a whole, I don't think it added too many great characters. I think Firecracker's alright. Black Noir was an interesting addition. I think they only gave him depth towards the end. And then Sage was just kind of a wasted character in my eyes. And then another issue I have with this season is Butcher getting powers. While I get that it made sense in the context of the show, I don't like that we lost that element of the accomplishment of taking down a soup. Early on, these guys felt like they were underdogs. Butcher having powers just made it feel like he was level with them, which obviously makes sense in the context of the show, but it was just less entertaining in my eyes. For that reason, I'm going to put The Boys Season 4 in D tier. Now finally, Season 5, the last season of the show, finally just ended, and this season was very disappointing to say the least. What was a really promising ending for Season 4, which should have led to a great Season 5, they did not capitalize on it at all. Felt like all impacts of that finale were ended within the first 2 episodes or so. To me, it just felt like the season lacked a lot of urgency and scale. We were promised like this big scale Homelander going crazy, you know, scorched earth type of thing, but we really didn't get that. Instead, most of this season felt like it shouldn't be in the finale season of the show. Sure, if these episodes were in Season 3 or in Season 4, those probably would have been pretty good episodes, but knowing that this was the last season of the show, it just felt like there was no urgency. Not to mention it felt like the first 5 or 6 episodes, the whole goal of those episodes were kind of erased by the finale. Like, they're so focused on getting the V1 and the virus, and then at the end it didn't really even matter that much. I think they ruined a lot of characters this season too. I think Soldier Boy was just awful this season. I think he was not a highlight of this season at all. And with all that being said, I also think there were some great moments. I thought they handled a lot of the more major deaths really well. Both A-Train and Frenchie's death, I thought they really did a great job on those. I also thought Homelander's death was pretty good, that he has to go and resort to begging and doing all these things, although I wish they wouldn't have sprinkled so much comedy into it. And saying that was comedy may be too kind, that was just gross. Which is something we saw throughout this season, them just sprinkling in these things that they thought was comedy that was just, it didn't hit. Like, even at Frenchie's funeral, they just sprinkle in a 1.5 minute segment of this gross comedy, and it's just like, this isn't good at all. But I thought Homelander's death was handled well, even though I thought the fight was very lackluster. I don't think it made a lot of sense. I thought it happened all way too quick, and it didn't make much sense to me that Homelander couldn't fly away or focus more on killing Kimiko. And then Butcher's death I thought was very rushed. I thought what I would have done personally was have Homelander die in episode 6 or 7 and then have the Butcher plotline begin, and then you can have a more heartfelt and fleshed out ending. For all those reasons, I'm going to put it above Season 4, I think, but to me this is a pretty fair gap between Season 2 and these 2 seasons. But let me know your thoughts, let me know if you disagree with any of my takes, let me know your order of seasons, which you liked the most, which you didn't like the most. If you like movies or TV shows, make sure to subscribe, we post about both of those. Like the video if you liked it, I'll see you next time.